All right. You're most welcome. Thank you so much for coming through. We appreciate that you've come through to be able to learn with us this evening. I'm much humbled to be hosting this program. And today we would like to speak about farming for extra income. So if you're watching us live, thank you so much for joining through.
Recording in progress.
So farming for extra income is our topic today, and we would like to understand how to grow a side income through agriculture. And I'm glad to be hosting Ms. Bayiga Sharon Cristah, who is a farmer as well as an accountant. Maybe just to share what I know about Sharon. So Sharon is an accountant, as earlier indicated. She's currently working with Nakasero Hospital as a cost accountant, as per her LinkedIn. She holds a bachelor's and a master's degree in business administration with a finance and accounting major. And she also holds the certified public accountant's qualification. She's a personal finance enthusiast. This is a title that we added to her profile because of what she shares, especially in the area of finance, personal finance, especially to the sisters. So this evening we'll be learning from her, and also she'll be sharing a passion in this area of personal finance. And something that is, again, exciting about her journey is she has also shared a lot around her journey in farming. So we would like to appreciate even how she's able to manage balancing the two things, not even two things. I know she does quite a lot of things, but yeah, balancing farming with the profession and quite a lot of other things. So ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Ms. Bayiga Sharon. Sharon, you're most welcome, and we would love to hear something more about you, some of the things that I might have missed out, and then you can get down into our today's topic. Sharon, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, Samuel.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, Sharon. How are you?
As introduced, first of all, I'm very elated to be here. Samuel is a personal friend that I've known for quite some time, so him getting me here is what is exciting or funny. So, Sharon Cristah Bayiga, as introduced. Glad to be here with you all. I hope that you had a very good week and a happy Friday today. I don't know if there is so much I need to add on the introduction. He nailed it, but I'm just so humbled by the way he's put it out. So Samuel, at this point, do I get into the day's topic, or there is something more you need to say before we do that?
No, yes, I think we can get into today's topic. Thank you so much for adding some of those. I know through the session we'll be learning more about you, so you can get into today's topic.
Okay, all right. Well, as you said, I talk about finance because that's my career. I'm a public accountant, qualified from the institute. I do agriculture because this is something that I hold so dear. It's so passionate at heart. Agriculture to me is more than just is more than what I do. It's who I am. Maybe, of course, this Samuel couldn't know, but from my upbringing, I was surrounded a lot with farming, both growing and keeping livestock. This is an activity that both my mother and grandmother were involved in. So I have that first-hand handburn in agriculture. So over the years, I've turned the passion of agriculture into a main source of income. What do? I grow food crops and vegetables. I also rear animals, cows, goats, and chicken. Beyond the income that this gives me, agriculture has also taught me a lot of patience, resilience, and then it calls for a lot of consistency. So that extra effort that everyone else needs to put into agriculture is consistency. So today I'm here to share with you how agriculture can be practical and a rewarding way to grow a side income for even professionals with a busy schedule. So my day's goal is to show you that farming is not just about the soil, but then also about creating opportunities, building sustainability, and then also shaping a better finance future for each one of us. Okay. Are we together? Are we together at that point?
Yes, we are following through.
Okay.
Okay.
What makes agriculture what makes agriculture a good side income? We all know that food is always in demand. Unlike the doctors, for a farmer's produce, there is a daily prescription. Someone will need a breakfast, will need lunch, will need dinner, or something in between, but it will be food. Agriculture also provides steady cash flow and food security. The entry point into agriculture is also small as you scale to grow. So over time, you can build good wealth. Maybe I'm not going, because I noticed that a number of people on the platform are finance people. We did define agriculture way long ago in our agriculture. In simple terms, it's cultivating the soil. Okay. We cultivate the soil, grow crops, raise animals for food, and any other product that we use to sustain and enhance human life. So crop cultivation is there, animal husbandry, forestry and fishing, irrigation, fertilization, harvesting, and name it, all that we do in agriculture. Samuel, I would like to share my screen.
Please, you can share, you have the right.
You cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing. Can you stop sharing? Is my screen visible now?
Yeah, it's visible. You can put it in presentation mode.
Okay. So agriculture is such a big chain. So what I'm starting with is the agriculture value chain. This helps us see this shows the journey of agricultural products from production to consumption, with all the actors that are involved in the process. So this chain is showing us all the actors that start the agricultural business to where it finally gets to the consumer. So I'm going to start with the input suppliers. These input suppliers provide seeds for us, vaccines, fertilizers, pesticides, feeds, and machinery. So farmers rely on these people to get inputs. For us to start, we'll need an input supplier to help us kickstart the project or the venture. Then now, second to the chain are farmers. These are the ones that grow crops or rear livestock, sorry. And this is where I am at. For a lot of my time, I'm here, but then as we progress, we're also going to see where I now come through to get into another group. So these farmers do the planting, the nurturing, the tending, harvesting, and then produce handling. These can be small-scale farmers, commercial, investors, or at any given level of start-off, you will be there. Then we have aggregate or collectors. These ones they get to buy products or produce from the multiple farmers and then consolidate the produce for sale. What is their key role? These people help the farmers reach a larger market. So you as a farmer, when you give your produce to an aggregator or a collector, like those cooperative bodies, cooperative groups, farmer groups, you're saving yourself from the post-harvest transaction costs in terms of maintenance, keeping, and all that. So you leave that to the aggregators, because for them, when you're done planting and then tending, there is a certain level. At every given level in farming, somebody will come to the farm and they are able to purchase the produce at that level. Case in example is I grow mangoes in Bombo, and the moment the mango trees are done fruiting, there is somebody who will come and tell you, let me take on from here. So what you do, you negotiate basing on how the fruiting is. If the tree looks well fruiting, you're going to find somebody is going to give you between 120 and 180,000 per tree. Whereas there are also those aggregators that are going to say Cristah planted her mango trees 3 years ago. At around this time, they should start fruiting. So they will come to you and tell you, okay, your mango trees are 3 years. We would like to partner with you, or we are buying you at this point. We will do the preparation for the tree to fruit, and then we'll do the harvesting. So also those ones, because they've not yet seen the yields, and then also it will be a fast harvest, the price goes a little bit lower. Usually those ones will pay you between 50,000 and 80,000. So they take on from that level. So those are the aggregators. At every point in our farming, someone is going, there is somebody, if you open your garden out there is somebody who is going to purchase you off at that level. So for small scale farmers that are just beginning, if you feel you can't look after the produce to finally where it gets to, let's say the wholesaler or the consumer, then there is an opportunity to sell it out to the aggregators. Then the other person in the chain are the processors. These ones transfer the raw agricultural produce to consumables or to a marketable form. What do they really do? We've all heard about millers. They tell you, for us who live by the countryside, at a certain day, we'll take our maize to a maize miller. When we go to the maize miller, what do we collect? Posho. Or what do we use the posho for? Many things, food, porridge, and many other things. So those processors are the ones where we'll go to the miller, the canning, the freezing, if you're into fish, meats, and all that, the packaging, dairy, or meat processing. So those are the people who come and take milk from our farms and then do yogurt, bongo, name it. So those are the processors. Then we also have the other people called the wholesalers or distributors. These ones purchase all our produce in large quantities from either the processors or the collectors, and then sell to retailers or any other intermediary to ensure that the products are available in multiple regions and then at a bigger scale. These are usually distributors and then wholesale markets. We've seen such bigger shops where they have they are only dealing in posho, only dealing in rice. So when we are looking through our agricultural value chain, those are wholesale distributors. Then finally, we have the retailers. Not finally, but number 6, we have the retailers. That is the mama gundi at the shop where you purchase stuff, or the supermarket where you go. So those ones sell directly to the consumer. These are our local groceries. And currently, with technology and all the innovation that is coming up, we even buy from there or from online platforms. A lot of the time, for people that have my WhatsApp number, I am posting my chicken, I'm posting the goats, I'm posting the tomatoes, the skuma wiki, and people are actually buying. So that is also a new show with that has come as a result of technology. So as a farmer or as an agriculturist, there are quite a number of things in the current daylight that you can leverage on to ensure that you are able to maneuver through your day, 9 to 5 job, and then also you're able to do your side hustle as a farmer or as a retailer or as a processor or as at any level of the value chain where you have chosen to position yourself. Then number 7, we have the consumers. The consumers purchase and consume our final products. Whether agriculture or any other service or good that you sell, the consumer has remained the king. How are they king or queen in our agricultural business? Their preferences are what drive demand. They are what drive our demand. They influence the production of what we'll have next season or in the next planting. What am I planting? For whom am I planting? The customer, the king, has given us an indication of what they will need. Then also pricing through the entire chain is very, very vital. So after the thing that is called the supporting services, these ones cut across all the players. These are players like the banks and other financiers, transport and any other logistics. These ones are very, very helpful in transporting our produce from the farmer. Of course, they help me pick my produce from the garden and then to Nakasero market. Maybe I didn't let us know. I sell my produce in Nakasero market and Kalere. Then also we have the extension services. These provide continuous support and advice for better yield. I'm currently working with Simra Seeds and Bukola. Those ones are really very supportive. When you need any information about something, they don't charge you. They will sit you down, sit with the vet if it involves livestock. Then if it involves crops, you sit down with an agronomy and then they take you through what you need. So also those ones are a very, very important group in the chain. And of course, we have regulatory bodies that ensure that the standard, the quality, and the safety of the produce that we give out there is suitable for human life and human consumption. So ladies and gentlemen, now that we know the chain in the agricultural sector, every actor adds value to the product, whether through production, processing, or delivery, but before it reaches the consumer. The efficiency in this chain is what determines profitability, pricing, and then food availability, and then growth of your small scale line. Why did we have to look through this agricultural value chain? I want us to have a very open mind of there are quite a number of stages where you can position yourself and say, for me, as I get into agriculture, I may not go to the garden to do the soiling, and all those things, but I can be an input supplier. Input suppliers, a lot of them, for example, Simra that I work with, Simra does not have any item here in the country, but the lady who is called the owner of Simra has a dealership with Kenya Seed Company. So Kenya Seed Company sends their seeds to strictly her shop. So she's monopolized that. So when you go to Simra down to Savannah Road, which is commonly called the container village, only Kenya Seed Company products or inputs. So as a professional, this is also an area for you to leverage in if you have capital. And then, of course, trust and consistency is what will help us grow. So there is that line. So then there are also the farmers, where I'm going to concentrate a lot this evening. Then there are aggregators who are going to buy from the multiple farmers. So again, I said, while I am a bigger portion of me is into the farmers group, I also do the aggregate or the collectors fall into the collectors. I buy from the different small farmers and then I sell. For example, the hotels, the restaurants that I supply food will ask me for 6,000 kilograms of cowpeas, fresh beans, and I don't have them in my garden. So what do? I will go to the farmers in the area where I stay and tell them, Mami Lukwago, I expect you this season to plant cowpeas. He will plant cowpeas. I will ensure that the standard or the quality is what I need. So a lot of the time, you even go an extra mile and tell them the seed that you're planting should be this. It should look like this. It should be tend to like this in this manner. And then eventually after the 3 months, when the harvesting is done, now I go and harvest the peas from those different many farmers, because the order that I have probably needs a quantity that is more than what I can process at the market. So ladies and gentlemen, the agricultural value chain is that broad. So as a professional, we can go back to look through and understand where does my time and resources, excuse me, where does my time, resources, focus, interest, where is it? Where can I go? So after you've known where you suit, then you're able to get into this agriculture chain and get into a space that will still allow you be able to do your 9 to 5, but also you're gaining some income from the agriculture value chain. All right. What are the common concerns for fellow professionals? I don't have time. I don't have land. I don't know about farming. This thing needs a lot of money. So we are going to break it down further into what exactly it is. What is practical enough? What is that is practical that for you as a professional, you need to be able to succeed or grow income through agriculture? So, ladies and gentlemen, how can a professional grow side income through agriculture? Number one, you need the right mindset. I know for sure that if we live in Kampala or wherever we live, there has been so much that has been said about almost all businesses, all projects. You are going to share with somebody and they will tell you, I cannot do agriculture. I cannot do consultancy. I cannot do this. So the moment you're polluted like that, then you need to first step back and say, okay, let me align myself to understand what is it that I want to do. So we need to start with the right mindset. Before we even say we don't have time, we don't have land, we don't know about farming, we don't know about agriculture, the mindset is very, very important. It is key to think of the venture. First of all, with the right mindset, you're going to think of agriculture as a business, not a hobby. Very many people come to our farms and what have they come to do? Not to even learn, but to take pictures. So despite me advising you that you have to go to do something that you're passionate about, your mindset has also gotten to look at agriculture as a business, not just a hobby where you're going to go and start taking pictures. What does this do? When you think about it as an investment, where you even expect a return, then the way you approach it is with professional discipline. You plan it out, you have a budget, you analyze the venture even before you say 10 million is here for me, let me start agriculture. So it is very imperative that you think about it as an investment where you expect a return, not just a backyard that you pass time, where you pass time. So it is imperative that you also begin small, learn through the ropes. Of course, the hiccups are there, but then scale gradually as you grow. So you, as a professional, you've gotten to use your professional discipline of planning, budgeting, just the same way you plan out any other professional activity. When you look at agriculture as an investment, or equally going to give it that professional discipline, you have gotten to choose a venture, all right? So attention. If something needs your daily attention, then you need to pause back and wait until you have that much time to tend to it. Otherwise, if you choose to say, it needs a lot of time, but let me start it, I will be calling so and so to help me through. People, these businesses, just like any other business, agriculture is also tend to like a baby. You've gotten to be there in its early years. So as you're choosing a venture that fits into your lifestyle, it's imperative to know that these things should not demand your daily attention. And then also it has a steady market. While I would advise that you are present in the tending to this venture, it can also be managed with hired labor or banked elsewhere at a farm where the people are available, or with family support. What have I done as a person, and what has helped me succeed in all these agricultural ventures that I do? My mother, again, and my grandmother and my siblings are very, very present people. That when I'm not at the farm, be certain that there's somebody blood related at the farm. Somebody who will know that this cow today has been seated for 2 hours. Did they get water? Did they drink enough? How are the goats doing? Did they move out? Have they gone out to the pond where they drink from? Are they on their normal routine? There is always somebody supporting. So you have, if you can hire labor, very good. If you can get family support, that's also very, very good. The things that need a lot of family support or your individual presence are poultry, goats, cows, and then vegetable growing. You can get the hired labor, but then also at a time of treating or managing different conditions, you have gotten to be there as a person or a trusted family member to be there. Because hey, the boys we get, the hired labor that we get, a lot of the time is not as they don't even know what they're doing. So if you're there, you're able to mix. If it's a fertilizer, if it's a pesticide, you're going to mix it correctly. But now imagine just sending a fertilizer or a pesticide to the garden, and then you instruct the boy over the phone on what to do. Chances are if he does the right thing, thank you. But also there is a risk of them over mixing something, and then by the time you go to the farm, let's say on Saturday or Sunday, all the leaves are colored, are burnt. So as you're managing the farm with hired labor, also very important that you have family support around, or somebody trustable to be there. The number 3, as a professional, how can you grow side income through agriculture? Leverage on your professional skill and network. What do I mean? In terms of financial discipline, the same way you get your budget, personal budgeting, to indicate my income is salary. When it comes, I save this amount, I pay so and so, cater for the utilities, put money aside for my transportation during the month to go to work. Even the farm, you have got to be financially disciplined. Have a book, have a budget that, okay, this month I'm going to grow vegetables, I'm going to grow papaya. How much do I need in terms of input, tending, to the point that we are harvesting? You need to have all this information written down. I don't want you to learn on the job. Before you begin, you're going to leverage in terms of because imagine if you're applying for a new job and then you get a job at a different institution. We even labor to ask people, how is that place? Is the environment toxic? Are they like this? So if you can do that for that same discipline that you use for everything, when do they pay salary? Do they pay on 30th, 25th, 20th, 18th? When do they pay? So as you labor to know all that information, please, as you use your professional skill to plan out this business or this venture. So this also is helping us know the answer to the I don't know anything about farming. You are being keen on, before anything, you're asking different experienced farmers on what to do, what you need to know before you get into something. And then also the market. As you're leveraging on your professional network, this professional network is your starting market. When I was doing, maybe to take you back, not back, but to let you know, when I was doing my master's, that time we were keeping chicken, growing vegetable greens, and then also growing sweet potato. I would park my car in the parking and then open the boot What does it have? Slaughtered chicken with weighed kilograms and a weighing scale. You know, there are those small weighing scales that we get from the markets, and a weighing scale. So I would, during the break times, of course, I'll talk to people and tell them, you guys, I have potato, I have greens, I have chicken. And then during break, of course, somebody will tell you, let's go and see your chicken, Cristah. Now you go, they check out. And these are family people. So the people we study with at our level, the people we work with, all have families. So eventually I ended up selling to my workmates, my MBA classmates, because remember, as you're doing your MBA, a lot of the time you're even working. So during the day, I've already sold to my workmates. Then in the evening, I'm now selling to my MBA classmates. And that was a very good market for me. I want to tell you that that paid my second year tuition and graduation fees. So the professional network that we are dealing with, we should not take it light. It's a very, very good market. You can even ask them, what do you want? Because now for me, that time I was selling broilers. Because these are the same people that I'm still selling to, now they've asked later in life or in the time they ask that, you know what, we no longer want to eat broilers, we want local chicken. So that market, again, like I say, like when we're talking about the customer being the king and then agreeing that their preference is what drives demand. So that the demand for local chicken didn't come from me. It came from my customers because that is what they now had transitioned into and that's what they needed. So as a professional growing your side income through agriculture, the professional market is really, really good. They are very reliable people and then also very open with feedback. So you can sell to them things like eggs, foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, and many other things if you know how to package it well and sell it to them. Of course, for you as a professional to grow through agriculture, you cannot start it all at once. You will diversify later in life or scale up after the first project has taken off. So if you choose to say, oh, I want to start everything at once, it's a bit risky. So you have gotten to get in, learn the hiccups here and there, and then understand how to, where to leverage, and then also if it's time for growth, what more to grow into. So that's it on how to grow a side income through agriculture. And then also, we are here today to learn on how to identify profitable opportunities in agriculture. How do we learn to identify profitable opportunities in agriculture? Again, from my just most recent point where I said we analyze the market demand. Here, you identify high demand products where you look for crops or livestock with consistent demand. Consistent demand in terms of every family will need it. For example, milk. Again, I said I have cows. And the people I work with, if they're not buying packed milk from the supermarket, if there is somebody that can give them consistently fresh milk from the farm, be sure that you have a tick for them from them. So items that have consistent demand for our professional network: vegetables, poultry, milk, goat meat, eggs, and many other things. But as you do your research and then find out that, oh, okay, someone will actually need this. Let me put my focus on eggs. Let me put my focus on milk. So you have gotten to identify and analyze the market. So when you know what the people around you are looking out for, you start with those ones. But then also as you're leveraging on the market around us, social media, your customer today is your marketing personnel or salesperson tomorrow. They are going to sell your product because then their colleagues they also have friends that are not your friends or people that they know that don't work with you or that you don't know. But then they will, in their conversations, somebody's like, I don't go to the market. I have my market lady, Cristah. She brings me broccoli. She brings me this. She does this. Eventually, they're sharing your number amongst their circles. So how again do you learn to identify profitable ventures? When we assess and analyze trends and gaps in the environments where we are. What do? We check what's scarce in our areas or in our workplaces. This can be fruits, certain vegetables, and many other things. The current trend today, ladies and gentlemen, is of healthy living. And in healthy living, the people we associate with are looking for a product that does not have a lot of non-organic fertilizers. So when they know and trust that, no, if I buy sukuma wiki from Cristah, I'm not going to see it all spread with this, they will be comfortable buying from you because they're certain that your items are organic. So fruits, a lot of the time, or what I've noticed in the age group that we are in, a lot of the people that we are living with are family people. They have children, and what do they need? They need fruits for juicing. They need fruits as you hear them. Mangoes, kiwi, oranges, tangerine, anona, name it, and they will need it. The beauty with agriculture and some of these items that I'm telling you about is they have a short growth life. You're going to find these mangoes in a year, we have 3 seasons. You're going to find the different fruits in these, small banana will fruit after 9 months, but again, when they start, the garden has begun. So all these ones can give you consistency, but then the market is there, and then the trend, of course, is there because people are looking for, people want to feed right. Then secondly, we need to consider our available resources. I just mentioned here that someone is going to tell you, I don't have land. As you're considering your available resource, of course, land is a very key element. So land availability. We need to ask ourselves that as I get into agriculture as a professional, am I going to do it in the backyard? If you're going to do it in the backyard, then my question is, what are you going to do? Then you need to identify what you're going to do there, and then how much can you harvest from the backyard? Because you see, the backyard of people who live in Kampala is not the backyard of us who live by the countryside. So you have got to also understand that if I'm going to use the backyard, then again, it's so small to give you reasonable side income. Or are you going to use family land? Yes. Where is it? Maybe it's 200 kilometers from Kampala. How often do you plan to be going there? Or if you don't plan on going there more frequent, who is there? Who is going to tend to your crops? Who is going to be the watchdog there? That is very, very important. So if you're going to use family land, the dynamics are really huge. I've seen my neighbors use family land, and then before the crops even get to harvesting, the family has issues, and then they want to slash out everything. So you have to be very keen on using family land, but then also agreeing. If you're going to use it, agreeing with whoever is the main caretaker, so that at a time where they probably need to use the land, there is consideration for the things that are growing on the land that is being grown or harvested on the land. But again, like I mentioned, depending on where the land is, who is the manager there? That one is very, very important to have well defined in the initial stages of the project. And then also you're considering your available resources, time commitment. I already mentioned this project should not demand a lot of your daily attention, but also how much time you can realistically dedicate to a project while doing your professional job should also be part of the things that you're planning outright before you do anything. So you're defining how much time can I read, like realistically, without straining myself, without having to run away from my bosses all the time because I'm going to the farm. And then you need to stay dedicated to your 9 to 5, but then also define how much time. That's why I'm talking about the weekend. Somebody should know, if I work Monday to Saturday, is my Saturday 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or it's 8 to noon? And then of course you can use the afternoon to travel to the farm. On the group here, there is a good friend of mine, and I know that every day you don't see him around Kampala or work. You know that this person has traveled to Masaka to check on their coffee. So you have gotten to have a project that you can tend to in such a way that this is how much time I can realistically give it. If it's my leave days, this is how I devise them to do me, but then also do life at the farm. Then as you're considering your available resources, you also need to know your financial capacity. how much money do you have to begin agriculture? Just like any business, you need initial capital if you want to grow and earn income from agriculture. So what my advice to us on the page today is to start small and then scale up gradually. Start small. We'll take an example. Later in the discussion, we'll look at certain lines or certain projects that we can start with small money and then have it grow over time. And then, of course, it's important that as you're doing this agriculture, if you start small, then it's advisable or best that you reinvest the earnings, the first earnings, back into the business to allow it to grow, because you see, the bigger it is, the more the profit or the income it will be from it. Then number 3, that we need to how we need to identify a profitable opportunity is assess profitability. Assess the project's profitability potential. What do we do here? We look at the cost versus the revenue that we plan to get from the venture. So what do we do here? Again, I talked of our financial discipline, and then considering this as a business, we need to write down all the input costs for any agricultural projects, just like you write down for your cloth business. You write down everything, and then the revenue that is coming through. Even agriculture, we write down all the input that we are putting in. So how much we're investing in, we're writing down everything. And then also versus the expected revenue. Ladies and gentlemen, it's important that before you even get to the garden, if in the chain you're a farmer, before you get down to the soil, you have written down all the costs that you need. For example, if you're going to grow maize, 2 kilograms of maize cost 17,000. If 2 kilograms of maize costs 17,000, we've noted that. How many gentlemen do we need to clear the garden and then be ready for planting? We need 3 gentlemen to prepare an acre of land. How much do they charge? 150,000, all of them. So you will have how many kilograms do you need to plant on an acre of land? 8 kilograms. So we already know 2 kilograms are 17,000. How many kilograms? How much is it for 8 kilograms that do a whole acre? We already know the price of the hired labor, 150,000. Shall we need a fertilizer? Yes. What kind of fertilizer? We'll need some coffee husks. We'll need some cow dung. How much is cow dung? A truck is 80,000. How much coffee husks? A sack is 20,000. So all that information, I expect you that before you start it, you ask an experienced farmer. I'm such a free person. I usually give that information for free. So ask a farmer, how much is this? What do I need before I plant maize, before I plant beans, before I do the cowpeas, before I do tomatoes, before I do sukuma wiki or nakati or buga? What do I need? Have all that information be written down. And then now, after we've written down all that we are going to need, what is the expected revenue from this project? So in there, you're assessing profitability, because you imagine you assessing the profitability and then the costs are 1 million, but the expected revenue is 500. I don't think anybody would invest into that. So it's imperative that we assess profitability potential by looking at the cost versus the revenue that we expect. Still, as we're assessing the profitability potential, what is the return on this investment? Remember, we agreed that this is not just a hobby or passion, it's also an investment. But what is this return? What is the return on that investment? So it's important for someone starting small to choose ventures with faster payback, so that you learn. Agriculture needs a lot of resiliency, a lot of patience, and then you've got to also to be like a very calm person. Otherwise, something is going to happen, and then you're going to panic. There are days you wake up to a dead cow at the farm. Nobody ever orients you to that. So if you started small, then by the time you're getting to such bigger hits, you have the muscle to deal with them as they come. So it's important for someone starting small to start small, and then also choose a venture with faster payback. Which are those ventures with faster payback? Broilers. If you feed your broilers the right way you're supposed to feed them, ladies and gentlemen, you sell your first broiler at seven weeks. And if you're selling it at 7 weeks, of course, imagine you put in money and then you're selling out something after 7 weeks. Even if the profit is just 250,000, it has not strained so long into 3 months, 5 months, a year. So I would advise that you start with ventures that have faster payback. And again, like I was saying, broilers have a faster payback. Tomatoes have a very, very faster payback, but they excite. They're really a very good venture for you to get into. Sukuma wiki, cauliflower, baby marrow, broccoli, eggplants, all those ones have a very, very short life, but their rewards are really exciting because you imagine if you did eggplants in December, we usually don't have eggplants in the market in January. So if you did them in December, of course, the rain now, if for people that plant or grow crops basing on the rain seasons, December the rains are running out. So you are only using the rains for a shorter period. What does this mean? For the remaining portion of the product, you're going to be watering it. But where is the jig to the eggplants as you're doing the both watering or irrigation and then the rains? Because January you don't have eggplants, a sack of eggplants in January is 160,000 at the market. Whereas in November, October, December, it's 65,000, between 65,000 and 80K. So when you start small with such smaller ventures, then you're able to scoop out what you've scooped depending on which period you've planted, and then when you are harvesting. Of course, over time when we do this farming, we learn, when do I plant this? When do I plant tomatoes? When do I sell my mangoes? You learn to know when to do an item, because then you know in January this is when I'll sell this. In December, is it wise for you to grow or sell tomatoes? Maybe not. So I advise that you start with the projects that have a faster payback. Then also, again, because I'm advising that we start with items that have a faster payback, again, I'm discouraging, it therefore means I'm discouraging crops or livestock with long downtime. Unless you can afford it and say, for me, my interest is cattle, I want to get into cows, then it's okay. But if the capital is small, or if you want to take baby steps and learn how to walk this journey, then I would advise that you start with smaller projects, and then in the meantime, fast live items or projects with long downtime. And then fourth, as we are learning on how to identify profitable agricultural ventures, again, we said we start small and then test the dance floor. And then eventually we run a pilot project to validate any assumptions or hearsays. Because again, like any business, I said, people have their street information. People will tell you what they've had. Have they ever done agriculture? Maybe no, but they will tell you how hard it is, how disappointing it is. So I am asking that we run a pilot project to validate those assumptions. If somebody has told you tomatoes are very hard, but that's where your interest was, let's start with one sachet like this. That one sachet is 43,000 and it has 1,000 stems in it. What do you need to take care of them? You need about 500,000 to take care of such a sachet. How big is that sachet planted? On 250 by 100. So you need 100 by 200 to plant that 10 grams sachet. Let's start with that and see and validate all these assumptions that we were told. So what are we doing now? While we're running it as an investment, we're also running it as a pilot project to validate any of those hearsays, any of those assumptions, and then eventually also make our own individual conclusions as a person. So that would also be one of the ways you need to identify profitable agricultural ventures as a professional. Then also, if you're not taking your pilot project as cropping, then you can do animal husbandry. You can get into the animals and then see also how are they. Let me track the growth in the market for livestock. How does it perform? Have I validated my assumptions that I knew if previously before that? Whatever that I was told, is it true? So when you do that, then you're able to within you agree that, okay, do I continue or do I stop here and then look at another venture or another invest into something different that is not the tomatoes that I was told. So as you're running your pilot projects, again, I said we'll look at a certain project and then agree to say, is this something that you can do? Can I track growth? Can I track its marketing? Okay. So we are starting small, and then because we want to test the dance floor and see the hiccups there, validate our hearsays and assumptions, and then see how to continue with the project. So someone says, no, for me, I want to get into goat keeping. Of course, when I talk about goat rearing or planning, I'm going to ask of you ladies to understand that the way goats operate is the same way sheep operates, is the same way cows operate. It's the same thing that you need for those three. Not for cows, but a calf, the baby cow. So let's look at something like this. Again, I told you I grow and keep animals. I grow crops and keep animals as well. So I keep goats. I grow food, but also keep goats. And they are a mix, but a lot of them is the local breed, whereas they have a lot of the time they are local, but then they have a back that is a savanna or a boa. That is why you see here, their ears are very beautiful. When you see such beautiful ears, then you know that you've done crossbreeding. You are no longer dealing with the entirely local breed. So what do you need to do such a project? This is goat rearing. What do you need to know? It's profitable and the animals are really hardy with life. It's suitable for any region in Uganda. Yeah, nobody will tell you that, oh, you cannot keep goats in Ginger. You cannot keep goats in Masaka. You cannot keep goats in Buganda regions, but you can keep them in the West, the North, or any other region. They grow or they are suitable for any region. And then the herd of goats can multiply really faster because every year a goat gives birth. And if you're lucky, with good crossbreeding and then good feeding, good vitamin, good management, of course, they drink enough water, they are well taken care of in terms of deworming. Then the vitamins you give, of course, a lot of the time these ones will give you 2 children. But if you're not going that extra mile, you expect 1 baby every year. But if you give that extra care, then you can be lucky and get 2 babies every year from a mother. So it's long-term wealth building asset, the goats. And then also the maintenance is really low. The goats don't eat that much. Because for you to feed about 50 goats, you can get 2 sacks of banana peelings. Serve them, add on a cup of maize bran, and then give water. Then release them to go and eat grass from the compound. They will they'll go to the following day. So their feeding is not much, they are low maintenance, and then also their life is hardy. By the time you see your goat really down to amsuja or coughing, then you know that it have really taken long deworming. That's why they are behaving the way they are. But if you are keen and then you have your records well put, you vaccinate on time, you treat on time. If it's time to spray against all those other things, then your boats will really be okay. So they don't need much. And then also, the goats have a high demand. Their meat has a very easy. I will tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that I keep goats for a year and then sell them during Easter. and then the 2 Eid. Usually by this time, if you started, for example, for me, when I sell off, I ensure that I keep or go to Nakasongola and buy 20 more goats or start of goats. By the time a year runs down, they've already multiplied by 2. So what do I do around that period? I'll sell about 40 goats, 30 goats. And you're selling each goat between 250,000 or 300,000 averagely. Let's say you're selling each goat at 270,000 and you're selling off 20. Let's say 30. Out of the 40, you don't want to sell everything. You're just selling 30. So you know that every round, let's call it a round, every round you sell off, you're going to get your 8 million. But how much have you put in? You're growing your grass. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, in the time that we are living in today, everything is commercial. People are looking at everything as an investment. We also grow grass. The grass that we used to feed these animals is grown. So you will find that when you grow your grass, you don't need to weed it. It's just grass. And that's where you release them to go and feed as you supplement on with the banana peelings and these napier grass that you now also grow at different gardens. Also malagala from the sweet potatoes. But all that is supplementing to the grass that you've grown. So if you take off the expenditure that you've used throughout the year, you're going to find that the guy that keeps this that is around the farm is paid 150,000 per month. By the time it's year end, they've probably taken off about 2 million if you also treat them or feed them. But most times is we are just giving them their salary and then they are feeding from the food that we grow. So most times we are feeding with them. They don't need to go and say, for me, I'm also cooking my food on the side. No, what we feed on is what they're also feeding on. So we don't have now cater for their foods as food aside. That's also another expenditure that you're trying to draw down. So by the time it's the year round, you realize that you still have some hard to start with or roll with to the next round, but then also you've gotten some good money all at once. That's at the Eid, and we all know that our Muslim brothers really do the goats on love to do the goats and the sheep around that period of their Eid. So because now you know how to plan the market, you keep, and then for you will sell during Eid. So the breakdown, for example, I have my 5 million. What breakdown can I do for me to get into goat farming? I'll buy 10 female goats, each at 350,000. Ladies and gentlemen, on this call tonight, I do not advise any of you to go and buy a female goat of 800,000. They're being sold on the market. But you're going to come back here and cry and tell us, oh, agriculture, I was cheated. This happened. So the people on this call, I don't advise any of us to buy a female goat of 800,000, of 600,000, because when you're going to sell it, Cristah here, I'm going to buy it from here at 200,000. Because I'm not taking it for meat, but I'm taking it to the farm. So the market that is selling to you goats of 800,000, 600,000, if you buy it, you're going to hate the project. So averagely, I would advise each one of us on this call that if you're going to start a goat project, a female goat should be between 280,000 to 400,000. Don't go above that. Then what do you do for you to get the beautiful goats that I have? You buy a Savannah or Boer back. That one you can buy 800,000. That one you can buy 1,000,000 shillings because you're certain it's going to give you a very good breed with the babies that you're going to get. Then also housing and fencing for the goats is not really, you don't need so much to do for 10 goats. All you need is a chain link, and that chain link I think is about 300 meters, which can fence quite a bigger space. Then also there are those offcuts from the trees is what we usually use for housing. Goats don't really need cement, those kind of walls, no. They need something as simple as offcuts from the trees. And then, of course, a chain link that I've said, so they are in one place. They don't have to go all over the place to pick diseases. And then also they can be stolen if they're just loitering around. So With the housing, you need about 400,000. And then, of course, veterinary and welfare in the beginning, because remember, as you're buying from the different farms where you're buying, let's say the female, as you bring it to your farm, you need to treat it. So that initial treatment for all of them as you're starting off can cost you about 200,000. And then that day's prep and setup of the farm for the labor and all those other things can cost you about 100,000. And then with 5 million, you've set up your thing. Then continuously, what do you need to do? You will need to have a vitamin on the farm. You will need to have an ox-10 that treats the different musujas for these goats. And then also you will need a vet come around every now and then. They usually charge us 3,000 for kids and then 5,000 for mature goats when they come to the farm and then do, what do we call it? Examination, sort of like check through, assess through their health. How are they doing? They'll look at their waists and then also check their eyes. Usually they'll charge you that much continuously. Of course, this is something you do every quarter, not every month. So the deworming, we usually buy a 5-liter jerry can. That is about 52,000. And that 5-liter jerry can take you a whole year. Because you usually give them about, the mature ones, depending on their weight, you will find us giving them 20 meals, the young ones 5 meals, 8 meals there. So the administration of the vaccines or the dewormers is usually small. So if you have your things, you can use them or spread the cost throughout the period that you know you will have it. So the monthly tending to these goats is really, really affordable. That's why I say they are low maintenance and then life hardy animals. So when you do that, then you leave them to go. They chew cuds. They'll sit when they are fed well in the morning. They'll chew their cuds to about 4 p.m. afternoon when you give them water. And then they'll still chew on their cud until in the evening when you release them to now go and pick a few things here and there. So if you want to do a 3-year herd projection for the goats, this is how your picture would look like. Of course, we agreed that in year 1, we have purchased 10 female goats. The female goat is called a does. So you will have 10 female goats and 1 buck. But in the same year 1, you'll have 10 kids weaned, assuming that their mother delivered 1 kid. But if their mother delivered, let's say, one of the mothers delivered 2, then you'll have 11. If 2 of the mothers delivered 2, then you'll have 12 kids weaned. And when it's weaned, usually they wean it after 2 months. After 2 months, you realize that your mother goat is trying to kick it away. They no longer want to breastfeed it. What does it need around that time? It's about to get on heat. Then you give it back to the buck. Then, by the time your mature goat is giving birth again, the kids that were weaned are also delivering. So the following year, year 2, someone has 20 kids that have been weaned, fully weaned, but also remember the other ones have also delivered. So by year 3, somebody has 40 kids already weaned and then delivering. Now, at that point, because we said since we are starting small and growing, scaling up gradually, then year 1, we are expecting you to reinvest back into the project, so you're not saving off. Year 2, you're also reinvesting into it. But then at year 3, we advise that you sell off a bit and at least have some come and call the money from agriculture or livestock and then see if are we excited enough that this is something that we can continue with? Can we grow it bigger? We advise that in year 3, you sell off a bit and have some rewards from your project. So you see that by the end of year 3 in total, your project has about between 40 and over 50 goats. And now that is really good growth. So what financial outlook does it look like? Your entire herd by the end of that period is 13.5 million. Now you see that amount is now from the entire 3-year project. But now you have all the stock at the farm. It therefore means that the entire stock is now going to continue delivering and then growing. So you as you're doing your annual sales, assuming that you're now selling, of course, sometimes we don't advise that you sell off the entire mother stock. You leave in, but then you also keep selling from these ones that are coming through at the farm. So you see, if you're selling annually or like on such a roundup, that like I say, I told you mine is every year. If you're selling around that time, you'll find that when you sell, you're getting some good money, like 8 million, 5 million, all at once. But the care that you're giving these goats is so small. But remember, the same waste that you're getting from the goats, you're also using it to grow your vegetables. You also, and it's very good. Their urine is very good. It's better than the cow dung, better than the one from the cows, and then also their waste is better than the cow dung. So you see, you're still using the waste from them, and then also still have your animal. And also please note, this waste, we sell it. A sack of goat waste is 40,000, whereas a truck, an elf, the blue sand trucks of cow dung are 80,000. So you see how the ones of the goats of more value. So they are really good. So imagine if you started your something small out there, you're using your waste, you're getting the food, you're getting the vegetables and buying less fertilizers and using your organic waste from the goats, you're saving money that would have been used to buy fertilizers. So by the time you're starting to sell, you've already been also getting money from these other things at the farm. So the value at the herd is growing. The wealth is also expanding steadily because also the herd is growing. Of course, it's not merry the whole journey. There's some risks. And of course, there is a way to manage them. Not that the risks are there and then unmanageable, no. They're diseases. They are worms. They can also fight within themselves. I don't know if I have one that has some blood on it, but a lot of the time they also have issues here and there. So how do we manage them? For diseases, we ensure that we vaccinate regularly. I've told you we usually do after 3 months. Then we also deworm them after 3 months, and then also give them some vitamins, just like you too as an individual. Don't you take some vitamins? Where do you take them? Or you eat foods rich in vitamins. So if you're not giving these animals foods that are rich in vitamins, you can't even know what they fed. Does it have enough calcium for them? Does it have enough vitamins for them? So you end up supplementing them on certain vitamins and calcium. So if you've gone to any farm, then you're going to find that a lot of the time you find a mineral block, what people locally call omunyo gwente or gwembuzi. So when you find such a mineral block, we as farmers are trying to supplement on the calcium, magnesium, and vitamin intake for our animals. They are very cheap items on the market when you go to Savannah Road down at Container Village. So we usually do all that to ensure that at least we mitigate against all these diseases that might come to the farm. Theft. Secure housing and fencing. You remember I talked about a chain link on that is 300 millimeters. That chain link is to help us on all that. And then also, of course, for security purposes, you will have somebody at the farm. As if that is also not enough, we get sort of like sensors for security and all those so many things that you can do for security in your own homes. You can as well do the same security for your herd or for your any sort of venture that you've chosen to get into, so that you in so doing you're trying to mitigate against theft. And then of course drought. These animals feed a lot on water. I want to give you a live example. Is during the cold season we get less milk. Why? Because the cows feed less than the way they do feed in the dry seasons. So what do we do around that time? Because it's already cold, so we ensure that if the rainy season is where it rains today and then rains today morning and then in the afternoon it's not raining, so we fetch their water and leave it out in the sun to not be cold water, so they can take in something. But again, during the drought, of course, they are drinking a lot. But what can happen if you don't have the water? It can be very funny at the farm if there is no water during the drought. You see how we know how to play with the way they drink during the rainy season? But now imagine in the drought where the farm has no water. It can be very tricky. So what do? We rain harvest water But then also, if you have some money, you can do what they call, you dig a well and then have your own water at the farm. Or the Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Husbandry, a lot of the time, if your farm is a bigger project, they have an initiative where they will come and do for you the water system at 70%. Is it 70 or 60? 60%. And then you pay the 40%. But what I noticed, even the 40% that we pay is really small. I don't know if you can see the tanks. That side is an initiative from the ministry that they've done for their farmer. So what happens? You have water at the farm for you to be able to mitigate against the drought. You have water at the farm, and then also you're keeping feeds. How do we keep the feeds? Again, I said we grow a lot of the grass. Different grasses on the market, alfalfa, sugar grain, many. They're like 6 very good ones. So we harvest it when it's season. For example, now it's the rainy season, the grass is everywhere. So you harvest and then take it through the machine and then get silage. Then also, because again, I say there are lots of bodies that come up to take us through training on how to tend for the animals, tend for the crop. They've also taught us how to keep our silage. So we take it through the machine, package it, do the mix with the things they've told us to mix in, and then keep it. And the keeping is so easy. You just dig down, sort of like a pond, and put in a black chivera, and then put in all the grass that has gone through the machine, and then wrap it very well that it doesn't get moist, and then also it doesn't aerate. Then you put back the soil that you dug for that pond. 1 year later, that grass or that food is still okay for the animals to take, and actually they like it so much. So what you do, just put some small water on it, and then they eat it. So all that is trying to mitigate on how we feed during the drought and during dry seasons. And then, of course, slow cash flow compared to poultry. So because, again, remember I told you, you may have to keep these goats for, let's say, 6 months, 1 year for you to sell many, and then get money at once. So you need some good patience if you're going to do the goat project. Whereas if you're doing the poultry, like again, I said, if you do the feeding the way we are taught by the ministry, and then also these different people in the value chain, then by 7 weeks, you should sell your broiler. By month 3, you should sell your broiler. By month 4, you should have an egg from a layer. So unlike poultry, for goat herding, you need to have some good patience to get money at once. So as we close, investing 5 million in goat rearing is a strategic choice for long-term wealth, but also with good management, you can be able to generate some good money from that kind of project, from the goat herding project. So that is one of the projects given at a detail, but then of course also if there is something that is left out, we can discuss it in the Q&A, or I am very reachable. We can always have this information be shared. I can always share this information if somebody came up and they need it for the goats and any other project that I have at the farm. I'm very willing to share this information with you as a new farmer to get into it and then grow around it and see how best you can take off. So that was one of the projects given as an example on how you can gain out of it. I also threw some light on poultry and the feeding and how you can ensure that you, as you're choosing a venture, you're choosing a venture that fits into your lifestyle in terms of demand for time and attention, support through hired labor and family, family members. Then this is a lot of this has been tackled or talked about in the different places. But again, what are the practical solutions for a professional that wants to grow income through agriculture? Again, I say time. I've really alluded a lot to that, and yeah, the time should not really eat into your professional job, but then also it should not demand daily attention. It should demand quite a fair time from you so that you also thrive the other side of the world. So for time, again, we said we hire labor, hire caretakers, use technology, have cameras at the farm. I don't know if you saw some cameras on our project of the goats the other side, but yes, have cameras at the farm. Have it be connected on your phone. That is all technology. Have them be connected to your phone. Sorry. If let them be sensors. If somebody is passing, let them make an alarm so that even you in Kampala and the farm is in Bombo, you're able to know that, hey, someone has passed at our gate. Somebody has passed at the other farm. Then also, if you don't have the time, then I would also advise you to bank with an active, trusted farmer. And of course, it's at that point that I want to let you know that I do goat banking for busy corporates. Goat banking is where you're now purchasing your goats. If you have where to buy them, you can go and buy them and then bring them at our farm and then we tend to them. Of course, what do you do? Their management fees, 15,000 per month for the goats. And again, like I said, I advise farmers that are starting into goat farming to only buy female goats. For the back, I said we advise you to have a boer or a savannah, and these ones usually, if you're banking with any goat farmer, they will have it at their farm. Of course, when you come around, you see all these. So you only buy the female. If you have where to buy them, that's it. But I advise again that you don't buy the ones of 600,000 because nobody will give you the 600,000 as you're selling it off eventually. I advise 350,000 and 400, between 280 and 400. So you do land banking. We do for you the land bank, the goat banking. Or if you don't have the money, then we can take you where we buy. We go there, you pick animals that you need, and then they earmark them with your name. So every time you come by the farm, of course, that is usually after 90 days, you come by the farm, you look at your animals, you will know that, oh, okay, Alice gave birth. Alice has a little son. Alice has a little a female baby, like that. So again, for people who are going to say, I don't have land here, I don't have time, we've said you can trust a trusted farmer to go to bank for you or bank for you whatever project it is that you're doing. I don't have land. Again, we've said you can leverage on family land or lease or rent people's land and then do that, or do urban or container farming. Urban or container farming, again, like I said, the space being so small, the margins will be really so small. So they'll be fit for somebody in senior 6 or senior 4 vacation to try out. But for somebody who is a corporate like yourselves, I would advise that you actually, if you've chosen to lease or rent out land, then it should not be these urban containers. The project will be so small for it to make sense in terms of finance. The knowledge, again, I said there are quite a number of places where training is done. All those big players in the value chain of agriculture down at Savannah Road do a lot of training for us. They send invites, they will call us, because when we go to purchase, of course, they're taking your information and asking, where is the farm? What are you growing? What are you keeping? So when there are trainings and mentorships, they involve us. So that is also knowledge that you're getting as a result of you saying, I don't know farming. Then they also are very kind people. They attach us to a vet within your area. So when you have an issue and your farm is in Bombo, they'll send you a vet in Bombo. When you have a garden and your farm is in Nakasongola, they will send you somebody in Nakasongola, those places at no fee. So the knowledge about crop growing and animal husbandry is there. Seasoned farmers have this information. Today, if I got a vet come to the farm who would speak the same language, the only thing he would do is the examination of a veterinary doctor. But these other things we will ably communicate, because these guys have really done good mentorship, good training for us as farmers that are just beginning. Maybe to tell you, I've been doing this agriculture business from 2010. While I grew up seeing it, to take it on as a project individually, that was 2010. So there has been a lot of learning, a lot of hiccups. But for me, all that I have has come from agriculture. finances. Somebody said, oh, agriculture needs too much money to begin. Start small. Do the chicken, do the vegetables, do the goats. Start small. The beauty with banking with us is because somebody is just beginning, we will allow you start with 3 goats. You don't have to have 10 goats all at once to begin, but we want you to know that I have a project somewhere and I should tend to know to it and then also know how it is progressing over that time. So money starts small. Do chicken, goats, vegetables, the different vegetables, there are quite a number with a small amount of money that you have. Then eventually later in the future, you can scale up as you get more in terms of finance. Then entry options for professionals, this is what I've been saying. Vegetables have a faster return, low startup. Poetry, the demand is there. And then also the potential for bigger growth is also there. Goat or sheep rearing, wealth and then value. Again, like I said, beekeeping, of course, low maintenance. You do your hive, put it in a tree, just ensure that where it is, there is pollination can be accessed, and then for you to start off your bee project. Contract farming, invest and let an active farmer manage. So you see how the practical solutions relate to the common concerns that professionals have. Then also the practical solutions come back to relate to the concerns that a professional has. And then finally, the entry options for, again, a corporate. The entry options for a corporate are also coming here to answer the I don't know about farming. So we are opening your eyes to see that, okay, if it's vegetables, it's this and this. Contract farming, investment, let an active farmer manage for you. Please, as you're doing contract farming, my advice to all of us in this house today is the project should be at a place that you can go to with ease. I don't advise anybody to get into agriculture and they are going to do it over the phone. That's a bit risky. We want you to be a part of it, to see progress. But now if somebody is doing it from a place that, first of all, let's assume they do it from Kayunga Bale. For you to get to Kayunga Bale, the distance is really big. Do you have a car? How much time do you have on you? How often will you be going to the many farms in Kayunga? So if you're going to get yourself into such a situation, we are going to also ask you to first hold on to your money until when you can invest and let that active farmer be in an accessible location. How to get started, I already explained this. Identify interest and have a budget. Choose a farming model, hands-on or something that can be managed. Start small, do pilot projects, reinforce with training, reinvest with profits, reinvest the profits, and then scale up. The case that we're supposed to use was the goats. We've already looked at it. What are the benefits for my fellow professionals? Extra income. You guys, there is money in agriculture. Me, I've eaten on it. There is money in this project. There is money in this chain. At any level, there is money. Again, I told you the chain is really big. It has about 8 players. Wherever you choose to settle, you will get money from that at that point. Then, of course, there is long-term wealth and creation, food security for your family. You guys, today we are eating a lot of things that we don't know how they were grown. Were they grown with organic, non-organic fertilizers? We don't know. But if you're able to do some of these things and know that, for me, if they're tomatoes, green pepper, veggie greens, I know how they were grown because they were in my backyard. That is food security for your family, but then also there is that assurance that you're eating organic food or what you're eating in is suitable for your body. And of course, legacy and community impact. People be looking for Madame Sharon as if they are like, oh, I need to find that woman. Where is she? How is she? But now eventually when they get to you, they're like, you're doing a very good job as a woman in your age. This is very good. Well done. So that community impact, you're not only gaining revenue from it or income from it, but then also impacting on the community when they come to learn, when schools bring their students to also garden visit or farm visit, there is that communal impact, and I believe that is what we all would want to aspire to do before we expire. So there is that legacy, and then community impact. And then I also want to tell you that one of the benefits agriculture gives, it's so soothing for the mind. Imagine if you left these Excel templates and all these things, and then you go back to a tree that you planted 1 year ago and it's fruiting. When we're in COVID, I put up a 1 acre mango garden, and seeing it fruit today, I feel like every morning I should pass there. And you see how I'm getting free therapy? So it's also therapeutic for you to see this green, all this green turn into something. When we're just going into Bombo, we planted avocado. Seeing it fruit today, year in, season in, out, is so soothing. And it's therapeutic for us. And I believe that each one of us would really want to look at a green, and there is a way it triggers that overall happiness. I would want each one of us in this house today to really experience that a bit. What is my call to you this evening? I would want to tell you that agriculture is practical and very accessible. You can start small and scale gradually. Again, we agree that we are reinvesting in our profits, but also it's very important to build customer trust. How do you do this? Being consistent. Consistent in quality, time on delivery, and the value for the items that you're selling to them. Again, like I said, while I'm a certified public accountant with an MBA, agriculture is my main source of income. Yet it started as a side hustle. So are you aware that your side hustle today can become your main income stream? Don't just underlook agriculture. Let's give it some leap of faith and see how it can go. Again, you're most welcome to our Goat Banking project. Key to take away, profitability in agriculture is not just about picking up product. It's about matching the market with your available resources as well as your profitability in the management. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I beg to pause here in the meantime and then take in our Q questions.
Wow.
Thank you, Samuel. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Cristah, for sharing. I believe it's not only me who has enjoyed, but also learned a lot from this. I think I've seen your farming journey on social media, on what you allow us see, but I honestly didn't know that you are so deep into this. When you showed us the goat farming picture, I nearly thought it was an internet picture until you took us back to share with us, to tell us about the water supply and other things. So I just want to say well done, and thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and for enlightening us. You have opened our minds. There's been a lot of buzz around the internet, around farming, goat farming, and other things. If any one of us follows such conversations, you've been able to get some clarifications that are able to safeguard you even at all when you're investing. So I think those are what I can say, but there are quite some questions here, and people are appreciating you for the session. So I just want us to run through the questions such that we can be able to answer some of them. I know you've responded to some of the expectations that have come through here, but I just want to run through. Friends, in case you have a question and you want to speak through your question, you can raise up your hand, and you will allow you to be able to ask the question. But most these are comments. James Asawa says, I have a goat that gives birth to 3 or 2 I think meant once a year. He has 5 kids, but I think he needs to take this more serious, so that's an inspiration. I wanted you to share for the other projects that you just mentioned, where somebody can start with 5 million. What size of land would that require?
Can you respond now?
Yes.
Okay, where we are currently doing that is 1.5 acres. God has been God and the project, the agriculture project also themselves have been very, very supportive, very rewarding. We keep expanding. We keep expanding in the area where we live. So even the grass that we grow to feed our animals, we don't pick it from very far. We pick it from very near, let's say about 3 kilometers from our home or 1 kilometer. But all the money that keeps buying this land where we grow the produce, the feeds, has been from the projects.
Okay. So if somebody is starting with 10 goats and 1 buck, what kind of minimum size of land would you advise them to?
Half an acre.
Half an acre. Okay.
Yes, half an acre.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, so the other questions, I think another question is about, could you just share about coffee? I don't know if what should somebody note before investing in coffee, in case you have some experience in that area. Somebody says really interested in the goat banking. I think I also somehow got interested into the same. So I think we want to also get some of those contacts. Winnie says,
Okay.
very insightful. Thank you, Sharon. Do you market yourself as an accountant and a farmer? Do you have a conflict? Yeah, I think you can be able to just respond to those for now, such that we can proceed with.
Yes, Winnie. A lot of the time I introduce myself as a farmer. There has been a conflict. I realize that a lot of the time my employer gets concerned when I introduce myself as a farmer, and it comes so easy for me to introduce myself as such. And then also, as I'm sharing my information on my LinkedIn, a lot of the time I'm like, hey, I'm not sharing as an accountant. What if I want to move from one company to another? Then, of course, I've gotten a conflict there. But today, Victoria Nyanzi, I had a session from Victoria Nyanzi where I need to have that balance. If I want to make noise as an accountant, then I should also position myself as such. If I want to make noise as a farmer, I should position myself very well as that. So yes, there is always a conflict. And then, could you please talk about coffee? It looks a good venture. Yes, so much has been said about coffee. I got my book and a pen to learn about coffee this year. I've also just invested into coffee. I have my trees just planted, but on the call, I have a colleague who is doing coffee. He joined he's on this call. I don't know if it's okay for him. Let me first send him a WhatsApp. He would really be very resourceful to tell us about.
Okay, we are very okay with that if it's able.
Okay. Coffee. So as I wait for him to respond, because I'm seeing him type on that on the chat. I will, yeah. So coffee will wait. We'll see if Billy Serumaga can say something about it. And then, do I mind sharing my number? Yes, I'm very okay sharing my number. I will put it. That is done. And then, very informative, really interested on the goat banking. How can I get more information? I've shared my number. Okay, you're welcome, people. I'm glad this is the most I have spoken in my adulthood. So yes, you're most welcome. I've shared the number. Such an interesting session. You're welcome. Thank you. How do you get the presentation for future use? I can share it. But then I also noticed that it was being streamed live. I don't know if the coach keeps a copy. Can someone visit your farm, Sharon? Yes, please. What size of the land do you need for the project? If you're doing the 10, again, I mentioned, for the 10 goats, half an acre, Samuel, I need to clarify on it. You don't need half an acre. that is so big for just 10 goats. 10 goats you can even do in your compound. I don't know, for people that have houses on 50 by 100, the compound that you have, that you keep with after house construction, can keep 10 goats. Very insightful. I have a goat. Yes, James Sasaba, you need to take this thing more serious. The rewards are there. The screen was not, we lost you. Oh, sorry, I hope you were able to pick me up later. My expectation is to learn on how I can boost my existing extra inkoi farming project. This one is not clear, Christine. Please make clarify on the question. My expectation is to deeply learn about, oh, this was when we're beginning. Okay, so.
Yes, there's a question, I think, at the bottom, I think from Geoffrey Mzee, who says, many thanks for this interesting session. I started with 10 female and 2 male in local in January 2025, all gave birth between June and July. It's an interesting project, though with challenges to me, who is a starter and in Kampala. How can I get a back in December? So do you also do goat selling? Maybe, I think.
Yes, we do. We do sell off the backs. We do sell off mainly the backs, because remember, when we get it at the farm again, we don't, to avoid inbreeding, we don't want to have the ones that were the weaned kids again start mounting their sisters or mothers. So we usually sell them out. But depending on what it is that you're doing, I can connect you and we get a very good back to help you get a very good crossbreed from your 10 female that you started with. Maybe if you don't mind, you could share with me the challenges that you're saying you're facing through a chat. We'll see how to break them down for you so it's not really very challenging.
Okay, thank you so much. Maybe just also to I know you mentioned something to do with the vegetables. Could you maybe just elaborate on if at all, maybe what could be some of the returns of such a project?
For vegetables like tomatoes?
Yes.
We will check. Let's use the case of our tomatoes for vegetables. For you to grow an acre of tomatoes, you need 30 grams of seeds. For them to be ready to start sale, they'll be ready for sale in 3 months. The entire garden will be ready after 3 months. You have purchased the seedlings of 30 grams of the seedlings. Remember, I said each sachet is 43,000. But then, if you are going to do the non-organic fertilizers, you're going to spend quite so much on the management of these. But then, if you use organic fertilizers, you're going to spend less. And again, I would want to tell the house today is organic fertilizers are cheaper, although they are not well marketed. So the farmers or the farmers that need quicker returns will not buy them because nobody's making the noise around them. So we advise that you get your organic fertilizers. If you can get the bukuta, as I said, if you can get the goat waste or cow dung, the better. And then you only do the pesticides to treat if they're being infested by those small worms here and there. So for you to grow an acre of tomatoes, you need 3 million for all those things. But the reward from it is usually approximately between 5.6 and 6 for tomatoes. Someone is asking, tomatoes have types. Which type would you recommend? I would recommend Anso. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I don't know. You had mentioned it's okay to visit your farm. Which location is it located?
It's in Bombo.
Bombo. Okay. Okay. So to the Ugandan community, I know we have some people from other countries joining through. You can be able to link up and check out that amazing project. So as we wind down, I know there's a question here that has come. I do some growing of onions on a small scale, but looking at increasing on the farming. How can I basically get connected with the supply of high quality seedlings? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, when the maize that I grow, I get it from Nairobi. The tomatoes also get them from Nairobi. But for the onions, I can recommend the shop is called Africa One. They import in for themselves. I think from Dutch. Their product is from Dutch. So they have very good onion. Also Simra, the very first shop on Savannah Road on your left as you're coming from former Sawaya Queen. They also have very good seedlings. I could share with you their numbers, and then you go there. Before you buy, you ask all the questions. Again, I want to tell you that onions have a bigger dormancy period. When you get them, you need to first soak them overnight before you plant them. That's the only one of the ways you will have them come out in the nursery bed. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe are there any mistakes that you maybe made in the start of your journey that you'd advise professionals to avoid, other than the calls, doing agriculture on phone?
Mm. There are
Because
very many
I know
mistakes that I made.
this is an area where we really, when you spoke about 5 million coming from the tomato garden, somebody feels like they need to jump onto the tomato business and see how it comes through. But what are some of those mistakes that somebody needs to be aware about?
Lack of planning for me in the beginning, because I didn't plan, I got into so many mistakes. So if you don't plan, that means you also don't have a detailed or clear business plan and goals on where you want this thing to go. So you've not considered the market demand. You don't know where you're going to sell the produce when it's ready. So for you, you just keep going to the farm and tending after your tomatoes. But you're seeing them start with the first, the fruiting is beginning. Even at that point, you've not known who is going to buy my tomatoes or where am I going to sell them eventually. So what happened? The tomatoes were ready. Now they are ready. We are now going to the market to look for buyers. Because they were really ready. They were all ready. The entire garden, one of those, because again, there is a myth. There are many myths around agriculture. But then there is a myth, a funny one, that when you pick one tomato and cook it, one ripe tomato from the garden, the moment you cook it, a week later the entire garden will be red. So there was that one day, I don't know how true the myth was. We picked a tomato, ate it. Then the next weekend when we went to the garden, the entire garden was red. We harvested. We got the fruits into the car and then drove to Matuga market. Remember, you've already come with the produce at the market. The people there know that you're not going to take it back. So they're going to set the price for you. Even after somebody had told, when I made like a few calls here and there with friends that knew about tomatoes, the price that they had given me, these guys at the market were giving me half that price. And they were telling me, tukuyambye nnyo, kubanga kati ennyanja nnyingi mu katale. So eventually, because they're telling you all those things, the tomatoes are so much on the market, you would have waited to harvest and then you call us. Maybe you wait and we come and pick them pick them up next Saturday. But remember, you've already harvested. You can't take them back, or you can't keep them for another whole week with you at home. There is a way the skin turns. So there was that mistake. Started the project, didn't know who was going to buy it, didn't know where I was going to sell it, and now it was ready. That was a very, very big mistake. No planning. We didn't know the market and where it was going to go. We really sold at a loss. So that particular planting period, those first year gardens that we did for tomatoes, we didn't get anything. Then also not getting the right seeds. I remember when I was starting mango growing, I just went to Kawanda. I don't know if you people know Kawanda, but there is a place where there is Kawanda, the research center. So the first person I met, I told them I want mangoes that are called Josephine, what are those mangoes that we grow? So we went and told them we want Takataka. That particular brand is called Takataka. So because we didn't also know what Takataka or how it looked like, they just gave us whatever it is that they gave us. Ladies and gentlemen, we kept the mangoes at the farm for 3 years and they were not fruiting. When an agro came from Bukola to check why they were not fruiting, because they'd even given us an organic fertilizer to use on them so that we see if they will fruit in year 3.5. When the person came, he told us at the farm tour, this is Kagogwa, the local ones. They will fruit after 5 years. But for somebody who is done a business and they want to get as an investment, you know when you want to, you know when the payback should ideally be. Now, because I bought a wrong seed, we had to cut them down, all of them, and start afresh. Imagine 3 years later. So there was that. We didn't get the right seeds. Then we also didn't plan. We were in Matoka with all our tomatoes, and then also over investing when we did poetry. You don't be a new farmer and then you bring 1,500 birds at the farm. That's what we did. So that over investing in the layers, it got at a point and we could not feed them. And you know, a layer eats the same way you want it to be giving you an egg daily. These guys can eat. Each bird approximately eats 80 grams daily. Now, if you're going to feed 1,500 birds, how many grams do you need later in 2 kilograms? So I was choking on maize brand. I was choking on concentrate. So what did I do again? Adding salt to the wound. I stopped putting for them a concentrate. And now I was just feeding them raw maize brand as picked from the miller man. What did that do? They didn't give an egg until they were 7 months. So they went through the normal, natural, local way of life. So they gave the first egg at 7 months, like any other kokonganda. Now remember, they are feeding on you. So every time I would get my salary, I would go and buy feeds. No concentrate, no nothing, but just maize brand. Now that particular project, we didn't get anything out of it. One day we just woke up and said, let people come and buy these, because you're not giving it the right feeds and the right quantity, then also when they start laying, they're all not going to lay. So out of 1,500 birds in real practice, if you have 1,500 birds every day, 1,350 birds should lay an egg. But now for us, we're only getting eggs from about 200 birds. Even from those 200 birds giving us an egg, they could not still afford to feed themselves. So what happened? We were choking on their feeding. One morning when they turned 11 months after, we were running broke completely. We get all the money we get from our other sources of income, me and of course, my siblings and mother. We agreed, let's get these birds for sale. So we called those guys of the Katimba at the markets and told them we are selling off layers. But Samuel, ladies and gentlemen, this layers, there were birds that were in their laying period, but because there was an overinvestment, we struggled on feeds and then eventually ended up selling them. A project that had invested in about
Sharon, I think we're struggling to hear you. I don't know if it's only me alone.
We sold the off layers at 80 million. That was mistake, very big mistake, over investing. And
Okay. I think our speaker is having some challenges with their network, but we just want to appreciate you, everyone that has come through for this session. They're going to connect back such that we can conclude. The questions that keep them coming, we'll be able to share this with her. She has also shared her contact. You can be able to reach out. To those that this is your first time attending our, in case you're not part of our WhatsApp group, I shared a link in the chat box. You can be able to fill the form. There is a link at the end of the form such that you can be part of this movement. We are professionals that are trying to empower ourselves, especially in the areas of personal finance, leveraging on career development, business development, among other things. So that's why we've held this session. We have quite a number of programs coming up. We have a mentorship for public speaking that we'll be having. We also have several sessions that we are planned for the rest of the year. So I just want to appreciate you, everyone who is part of this journey. We also want to recognize some of our principal members who support and fund some of these programs that are on the call. We have, I think I've seen quite a number of them right here. Makande Stephen, right here. We have quite a number of people here. I saw Silas around and many other people. So thank you so much for all that you do. And hopefully, as our speaker, are you back, Cristah? Okay, maybe she's trying to reconnect, but much appreciated. James Asava is also a principal member. We can see this session has been recorded on our YouTube channel. As we now have a YouTube channel, which is in the names of Transformation Professionals Club. I'm just going to share it such that you can be able to follow through. We have recorded each of our sessions that we usually have, so you can be able to catch some of the recordings such that you follow through some of these messages. This is really rich information, and one of the things that we've always tried to do is to bring people that can share from the practical point of view, and Cristah is one of them. So thank you so much. Let me just try to see if our speaker is able to, how they're doing, such that we can have them conclude. But we are glad that she has been able to take us through the journey. Okay, let me just try to check on her. Okay, I don't know if it's only me, just a moment. All right, our speaker is trying to reconnect. Her internet was just trying to have a challenge. We can give her some minutes. So yeah, somebody says they can't hear me. I believe that hear me. All right, all right, all right. So we can give them some 2 minutes to come through. I mean, just share our speaker's LinkedIn profile where you can try to connect with her. She shares quite a lot around farming, so you can be able to catch some of content online. Okay, right there. So
sorry, my internet had failed me.
Okay, we are glad you're back. I was just trying to share with people your LinkedIn profile such that they can be able to connect with you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So when you went off, I think you were trying to share with us about your mistakes And I think
Oh, yeah.
we lost you at that time when you were telling us about either the chicken. I think, yeah, the chicken where I think you were spending a lot
Pest
of.
and disease management.
Yes,
Was
yes,
it at
yes.
pest and disease? Okay, yeah.
It,
So another mistake that I learned on the job is when you see one animal or one bird showing the signs of being sick, it is at that point that you should know the entire flock or the entire herd needs tending or needs to be assessed.
yeah.
Because by the time one comes up, then and it's been living with these ones, so they feed together, they drink from the same water, so there has been a lot of reinfection. So I learned that you actually don't treat the sick one like we do with human beings. In a family, we only treat who are say they are sick, but for poultry and all these other things, we have a uniform day. Today we are deworming, today we are giving a vitamin, today we are giving we tend to them on a particular day. We don't isolate to start saying I want to treat so and so. And then also we do a lot of I didn't know that there is a lot of quarantining that is supposed to be done with animals. When you see a sick animal, take it out of the herd. I didn't know that. So would we end up with? Reinfection and all those other things. Again, like everybody else, I was impatient. I expected that when I keep 1,500 birds, I'll get 1,500 eggs every day. And in 4 months, because of again what the society had told me out there, that a bird will give you an egg in the fourth month. So because I didn't pilot any project like that and instead went into it full swing, there was a lot of learning on a job, but on a big project that was very, very dangerous. So there was also that as a mistake, and I think nobody should get into such a thing. Then also mismanaging livestock, and then that also comes with poor feeding. I've already told you how I was feeding them without a concentrate, but just maize brand. Then also overcrowding. Remember, if you are putting up a chicken house, by the time you get to a level of knowing how much space do I need for 1,500 birds, you should have kept 500 birds in the first place, but not start with 1,500 birds without anybody coming on ground to say, okay, let's construct the house like this. This is where the sun comes from. This is where the house should actually face. Because all those dynamics should be considered when you're putting up a chicken house. Where does the sun come from? Where does it go in the evening? How is it like? If you don't do that, then there is also a lot of crowding, because where the small sun is in the morning is where they all go. And when they crowd, they are dying. So there was a lot of overcrowding of my birds in the first stages. Again, poor planning. Like I said initially, the planning was really bad. So those are some of the mistakes that I faced. But then also eventually I started again. Imagine somebody who had started with 1,500 birds going down to start to again, the next purchase was 300. And the 300, of course, when you buy birds, they give you an extra 10 on every 100. So I only lost about 40 birds into disease and issues here and there, and grew my 290 birds without any hassle, fed them right, but because I had gone back to do the homework. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, there are mistakes, but then also there are different challenges as you go through the journey. But the beauty is you learn, as if you've piloted a project, then the next project that you're taking on, you're learning on the job, but then you also know better ways to manage if something shows up at the farm. Thank you.
All right.
Hi.
Yes, yes, Sharon.
Hey, you were quiet, that's why I was calling you.
Yeah, I think thank you so much for those responses. There was some last question on tomatoes. Somebody was asking if I think mangoes. Somebody was asking if mangoes have. This was a question from Timothy. So if mangoes have different varieties?
Yes, they do have different varieties. The ones that are commercial are 3. Then the ones that are local are about 4.
Okay, thank you so much. Would you give
But
your
the one
closing
that is
remarks?
more commercial. Oh, let me tell you, Samuel, I've never spoken this long. So thank you so much, Ipo, for having me. I hope that this was a useful time for each one of us. I hope and pray that we picked a thing or two. And I'm really so humbled, Samuel, by your community. They are really people that want to get the information. That has been so humbling for me. Thank you so much for having me. Have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, thanks everyone for coming through. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.